overview and assembly of the Bushnell 10 by 50 Trophy Extreme VideoSniper. 10 powers magnification in the binoculars, 5 power zoom telephoto in the phone video camera, giving 50 powers of magnification. In photographic terms, the equivalent of a 600mm to 3000mm variable telephoto lens for a mobile phone's video camera, which currently is showing you a view through the 10 power and 50 power viewfinder, more or less kind of thing. The square aperture bead frames what you see when you're looking through it at 50 power, and the round ring shows what you see when you look through it at 10 power. But of course at the moment there's nothing but a tinfoil covered block of wood taking the place of the camera, because I've only got the one camera, which can be paused so that I can now show you the assembly procedure. Beginning with the bare binoculars. I don't know if other people wrap them up like that, but that seems to work for me. First thing to note, underneath their protective caps, there are eye relief cups, which can be retracted for use of people who have eyeglasses. Bear that in mind. The feature means you can vary the distance between, quote, the back of the binoculars, unquote, and anything that's actually resting against them. And you'll find when you buy them that they come equipped with 2 bags and a book of words, wherein at on page 19 and page 13, as well as page 7, it'll tell you the order number so that you can purchase the part. The curious little duva, which is custom designed and cast to mate your Bushnell Trophy Extremes onto your photographic tripod, much in the manner that this jury rig mounts my mobile phone with a jeweler's vice onto a photographic tripod. So we're going to have to come up with something a little bit classier than that, eh? Because that plus that does not a camera mount make. So the first item on the agenda is to remove the decorative plug, which may be more than finger tight when you first attempt the operation, to expose the screw thread on the mounting to match the adapter. And you'll have to adjust that angle of the dangle, suitably set for your own pupillary relief, before giving it that last little 1/100th of a turn to tighten the joint. And here we see the crux of the problem is that the camera needs to be mounted in such a way that it can harvest the light coming out of the binoculars. And I don't know how other people have approached the problem, if anybody else has bothered trying to solve the problem. Most people would just go and buy an expensive video camera with a good lens and gyro stabilized sighting system and all the rest of it. But what the heck, you know, I could afford the binoculars, just barely. Okay, so we begin with the shape of a socket which is known to work holding my phone camera, and make exactly that socket and then fit the socket onto a bracket. And the bracket's made out of a bit of old road sign, and it has a 90-degree bend put into it to stiffen the long axis of it. There's also a piece of 90-degree angle aluminium pop riveted to stiffen that joint. These three flanges successfully locate the base of the tripod adapter reliably, repeatably onto the base of the bracket. Not only, but also, this creates an interference fit, and you always get to be sitting in the same spot. Then we have our proven custom socket, and it was kind of difficult to join the socket to the bracket. Eventually I put the binoculars on, I put the camera on, I aligned everything so I got a good picture, and then I used A.E.R.O around the edges of the joint and waited for the glue to go off, and then I pop riveted through the glued joint. Okay, so that brings the camera socket to directly behind the eyepiece of the binocular. So now once again reverting to the wooden dummy. First retract the eye cup, then insert the phone camera in the socket, but it doesn't actually go all the way down to the bottom of the socket. And then we deploy the eye cup, which places the phone slightly in compression against the binoculars, and you can adjust the whole thing for the correct angle of the dangle. The next issue, as I pointed out, is sighting, and as I also pointed out, that's what the open ring and bead aperture gun sight is all about. When your head's in the correct place to be able to see the phone screen, then the outer edge of the ring is the outer edge of your frame as seen at 10 powers magnification. And then if you get right at the correct angle of the dangle, what you see there is what you get at 50 powers in the aperture in the center of the bead. That took a bit of thinking about. And the next issue is that once you actually get what you want to see in the center of the frame at full magnification, so you haven't got to start stuffing around with zooming the phone with your third hand, and I haven't got one of them. The other issue is sometimes you can't actually see the phone screen because of reflections, and then you'd need your third or your fourth hand to try and shade the screen. So I decided I needed to make a shroud or a hood from ubiquitous sheet aluminium and surplus road sign. And it's even got a hole so that you can continue to recharge the phone while you're endlessly holding on pause, waiting for a different kind of birdie to come and sit on the water dish. So there we get almost the full works burger, but the problem is if you undo that, it wants to fall off on its backside. So what we need is a mass balance sticking out the front. Something rather like that bit of fence wire with a lump of lead cast around it, which you'll see in an earlier video if you're that particularly interested in how to make one. If we just lift up this eye cap on the superfluous monocular, we see there's a hole which is actually a tubular friction nut. And this piece of fence wire with a bit of friction tape around it, or actually electrician's tape to shim it out, fits in that hole pretty well, going down to a predetermined length which has been set by experiment. So it's just slightly nose heavy at that angle, stable like that, just slightly tail heavy around about there. And the application of a little bit of tension on the friction nut means that you can still move it and it'll more or less stay where you put it. So I sort of count that a success, and it's set or forget, although it has one curious feature. Because it's attached to the friction nut, it wobbles. It doesn't actually change its balance point, but it does change its position as you alter the friction nut. Right. Okay, so when you're using this thing, it's actually set up for you to use your left eye while you're tracking and acquiring the target, and that has your head positioned so that you're in position to look at the camera screen. But I'm right eye dominant, so if I have both eyes open, it positions my head in position for my right eye to be looking through the ring sight, and it's not actually that far out of line. So I tend to use my right eye while finding and acquiring the target, and I will be already at full zoom because the ring and bead aperture sight allows you to find and track the target. Once I've got the target in the sight, then I start the video recording, and then the hand comes up here to focus, while the other hand is on there controlling your pan and your tilt. So it all sort of works pretty well. Basically, you insert the camera with the eye relief cup retracted, get everything centered up there, then click deploy your eye relief cap, go out to full zoom, focus, and at about this stage in the proceedings, when you first start, that's when you'll check the alignment of the gun sight graticule and make sure that it's actually parallel with where the camera's looking. And having just put the screen shroud on, I got to tell you, it's a whole lot better with it than without it. So that's your briefing on the Wharton Bushnell VideoSniper. And it's only taken me a fortnight of fairly hard work, a lot of skull scratching. To figure out how to do it and get the bloody thing to work. So now I can go and start trying to get pictures of aeroplanes flying over. Warble's on a lot to YouTube. That's how to use the VideoSniper. Ciao.